Welcome back to Gale Force Wins Season 5.
Well, folks, welcome back to Gale Force Wins. My name is Jerry Carew, and I am the co-founder of Gale Force Wins. One time there last week, I introduced myself as Alan Dale, which was pretty funny. Alan thought it was hilarious. I'm sitting with actually my next door neighbor. His name is John Finn, and we've known each other for 3 or 4 years now. I actually haven't had much time to talk to him. A lot of stuff going on in our personal lives, traveling and everything, but I am very aware of what he's doing in terms of the charitable space in Newfoundland and Labrador. And we were chatting the other day, and I said to myself, you know what? I said to John, I got to get you on the podcast. Gale Force Wins likes to promote charities, John, and this is an opportunity to talk about your career a little bit. And the wind is coming up. So with that, why don't you just go in, introduce yourself, and we'll take the conversation wherever it goes.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Thanks, Jerry. And great to have Jerry as a next door neighbor. Hard to keep up with, I will tell you folks.
I'm pretty quiet.
If he's mowing his lawn, I got to get out and mow mine, is all what I could say. Again, John Finn. So I'm currently the executive director with the School Lunch Association. For folks who are listening, so that's a registered charitable organization in Newfoundland and Labrador. It was founded in 1989. The program began serving food at one school in the inner city, downtown, St. John's, Bishopsfield Elementary. It was founded out of a need. There was a study done in 1988 that basically alluded to the fact that children were missing school towards the end of the month. And this was due to social income support payments, and parents would not have enough money to provide lunches for their children to go to school. So rather than be embarrassed, the children were simply not attending school.
Wow.
And this was a study completed in 1988. And so as a result of that, a group of women with the United Church put together this program. And so here we are 36 years later. We currently operate a pay-what-you-can model as they started. Essentially, we ask $5 a day for a meal, and if you can pay $2, $5, or $0, it's entirely up to you and your family, and it's completely confidential. And that's how the program started, and that's how it still continues to run. And today, we're operating in 46 schools. So in 36 years, we went from one school to 46 schools, so significant growth. In particular, just to give you an idea, 10 years ago, we were in 20 schools. So we've almost doubled our footprint in terms of a school lunch provider in the last 10 years alone.
Well, that's incredible. We're going to delve more into that in a second. I want to talk a little bit about your background. You grew up in Stephenville, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And you were an elected member of the House of Assembly. Tell us a little bit about that journey. Like, that's fascinating to me. You're obviously a person who gives back to your community. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah. So politics is interesting. I spent a lot of time growing up. My family was heavily involved in community. My mother and father were heavily involved in all kinds of charitable endeavors. And that's really what kind of inspired me to get involved in the community. And so I spent a lot of time, pretty much my entire life in Stephenville until 2019. I worked primarily in nonprofit sector. So wow. I spent 5-6 years as an employment counselor, helping individuals when the mill first closed, the Abitibi paper mill first closed, helping individuals secure employment or get funding for retraining to gain the skills and the credentials necessary to go back into the workforce. Then I spent 5 years in housing and homelessness, started a housing and homelessness program in Stephenville, helped develop a homeless shelter, a soup kitchen, which still operates today, got involved in municipal politics. I was an elected municipal politician I did 2 years, and then I jumped away from that quickly to get involved provincially, so that was a bit of fun. And then, unfortunately, was unsuccessful in the last election attempt in 2019, but it's all good, and it brought me right back to the charitable sector, which I thoroughly enjoy. And just working with the people that are involved in this sector, you can kind of feel that every day. Yeah.
John, as I said to you before we hit record, I was chair of the YMCA here in St. John's, and I know there's a huge need on many aspects for various charities. If you were to say, the School Lunch Association, for you, what is the biggest need that you could identify? I know you probably got 20, but, if maybe there's a couple that you could mention.
Yeah, certainly. So I guess the biggest need in the province to put in perspective, I guess a lunch provider, like if you send your child off to school in the morning, you just assume and you hope, if you give them $5 or $10, they might be able to buy a lunch. And that was probably the case when you went to school, and it certainly was when I went to school. However, it's not economically working like that anymore. And that's particularly because, I guess, of the populations of schools. So if you're looking at it to be a lunch provider in a school, you have to look at it like a restaurant business. So essentially, you have two things to take care of. You have to purchase food and pay someone to prepare the food. So those are your two big costs. And then you hope to have a return on investments. So from a restaurant perspective, that makes sense in larger urban centers. But in smaller rural centers, it doesn't make entirely economic sense. So the biggest challenge is looking at charities such as ours and finding ways to place this program in areas of high socioeconomic needs. That, like, it has to be the most significant challenge. And then in addition to that would certainly come down to the age and structure of the type of school building you're looking at. I mean, there's people all across the province who may be listening or listening elsewhere in Canada. You can picture the school you went to. Yeah. And so here we are in St. John. So Bishop Field Elementary, where the program started 36 years ago, that school building was built almost a century ago. So the kitchen in that school is smaller than most people's backyard patio or like a studio apartment. You know what I mean? Yeah. Renniers River Elementary here on Elizabeth Avenue in St. John's. The kitchen has one stove, same type of stove you would have in your kitchen at home. And the staff member there is a rock star, and she produces 230 meals a day by herself in a kitchen that's no bigger than most people's sheds. So like infrastructure, looking at rural areas, and then just really that's some of the biggest challenges, is just trying to find out where we can make this model fit and looking at the infrastructure we're dealing with to make it fit, because the need is there. We are completely aware of the need. It's something that's been spoke to us by people from all across the province. I believe when the pandemic started, my phone was off the hook with 20, 30 schools from St. Anthony to Port aux Basques to whatever. Can you come start our program here? Can you come start your program here? Because it wasn't making economic sense for private operators to participate in this restaurant, school, lunch provision industry. Yeah. It only made economic sense for a charity.
So, before we hit record, you told me a little bit about your journey in terms of when you started, and I think it's very relevant just to show how resilient John is. Tell me a little bit about, you started in the middle of COVID, and tell me that story you told me about the food and the $300,000 worth of food. Crazy.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. So I was hired, I believe it was March 15th, if not the 16th, I'm not mistaken. I had a meeting
of 2020.
Of 2020, sorry, yeah. And so I had a meeting with the board of directors on the morning of, I believe it was the 16th, and within 3 hours of that meeting and that morning and being introduced to the staff, the province announced that all schools in the province were going to close and the province was basically going to shut down. And so that was my first day on the job. So sadly, I had to issue layoffs to all of our employees. And from there, the next biggest task was finding out. So at the time, we had, I think, 34 schools, perhaps. That's 5 years ago.
Yep.
And so we had inventory in every site. So, I mean, I'm talking boxes of macaroni, cans of pasta sauces. We had fresh fruits and vegetables, lettuce, milk, you name it.
In every school.
In 33 schools. And we were basically told no one's allowed to travel, stay home, keep your social distancing. Where, I don't think there was masking and things at the time, but it was basically stay away from everyone.
And this is 33 schools. All across the province?
No, well, primarily metro.
Okay.
So this would have been anywhere from, I guess, Flat Rock, Pooch Cove, the general St. John's, Metro, CBS, Mount Pearl, Paradise, as far as Holyrood. And so we had to get all this food out and figure out what to do with it. And so I partnered with a few of charitable folks that I knew, Choices for Youth, Food First NL, the St. John's Farmers Market, made a few calls. We came up with a scheme, made a few calls to a few of my friends in government, who I was fortunate to have some good contacts with. And within a matter of a week or so, I had a couple of RNC cadets and a constable, as well as Akita Equipment provided a tractor trailer, a reefer tractor trailer. Household Movers and Shippers provided a tractor trailer. And so myself and a number of RNC cadets and a constable and 2 tractor trailers mapped out a plan, and we went around for 5 days. It took us. We did 5 or 6 schools a day, what we could do and map out. Picked up all of the food, brought it all to the farmers market, some $300,000 worth of food, and made a plan to distribute it to community groups at the time. And so it's a remarkable story. There was some news coverage on it. It didn't get as much perhaps as it probably could have, but it was a remarkable story because it was just so unique at the time. When folks were staying home, being told to stay home, and here we are. It was driving around St. John's with these 2 tractor trailers and the RNC. It felt like we were in a ghost town because nobody was out and about. Everybody was being told to stay home, right?
Yeah.
So it was eerie and interesting, but very rewarding, and a lot of community groups benefited as a result of that. That food was donated to groups from Stella's Circle to Bridges for Hope, you name it. 20-something community groups benefited from that.
Yeah, I can tell you're very proud of that. What a way to start at an organization, hey?
Yeah. Within the first few days, that was quite the task. I enjoy a challenge, and so that was certainly that was the first one. There's been more since, but it was enjoyable. I gotta say, the memories, like when we finally finished and we had all the food set up on pallets and we had it all kind of categorized. So. And of course, it was at the time with the COVID thing. So when we were giving out the food, this was about a month later. This was March when it was started, and we collected all the food. But took us about a month by the time we figured it out. So in the middle of April, we had to have groups come in and had to sanitize, and you had to do online forms. Well, I want this group, I want this food, and then we had all these pallets. But when we finally got it all there, and we ordered a few pizzas and just looked at what we put together. I mean, we're talking a warehouse full of food. I mean, it was massive. So it was exciting.
And you moved all that in 5 days.
Well, we moved it all in 5 days to one site.
Right.
Organizing the next and the rollout was the challenging piece too.
Yeah.
Because at first it was like, well, it could be a food bank, and then we'd be inundated with people. So then we said, well, we'll just community groups. So we coordinated with specific community groups, and so it took about close to a month. But 5 days of driving straight, 8-9 hours a day. Lugging food, hand bombing food with the RNC cadets and the constable and the tractor trailers, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
So you continue to operate with how many schools right now?
So currently we're in 46 schools. So,
geez, you've grown, haven't you?
Yeah, we've grown significantly, and again, that comes back to what I was referring to the socioeconomic, the need, and the economics not making sense for sometimes a private food operation in a school. Again, you have to purchase food and pay someone to prepare it. So the phone's been ringing off the hook, and we've been slowly growing. The charitable model in which we run, we're a social enterprise. So again, we ask say $5 a day, as I mentioned in the beginning, in the sense that all of that money that comes in goes back into feeding the program, because we have to pay staff. So we're a large social enterprise. In fact, I would suggest we're the largest social enterprise in the province.
Wow.
And it needs to operate that way. We're different from the breakfast program, in the sense that there's a lot of every school in Newfoundland and Labrador, 277 schools, I believe, have a Kids Eat Smart breakfast program. Interestingly, the Kids Eat Smart program was founded as a result of the lunch program, a few years after the lunch program was founded in '89. But they run by volunteers. And so children come in the morning, it may be grab a granola bar, grab a milk, or grab an orange and go on. For us, it's different. We need to pay individuals because we have to have proper food safety training, occupational health and safety training. Every school kitchen has a license just like a restaurant. We're inspected by the environmental health officers just like a restaurant would be. So we have paid staff. We have close to 100 employees in, right now, 46 different locations.
Wow. Good for you.
And we're each year growing. This year alone, we started this year with 41, so we finished the year with 46. We took on 5 throughout the year. And so right now we'll see what the fall brings, but it's a good program to grow, and it's a lot, but very rewarding. And the team that we have, Jerry, is just nothing short of amazing.
Well, that's a big team, John. You know what? I mean, I honestly had no idea. I figured you'd say you had 5 or 6 staff. You got 100 people that you're paying. That's incredible.
So yeah, we have it. So our administrative side, there's now 10 of us. There's historically 7. We just took on 3 more this year to help us grow. So there's about 10 administrative staff and about 90 individuals in school kitchens between full-time and sometimes we need call and relief staff. So we're no different. If in the morning, if you're a principal, Jerry, and a teacher calls in sick, you have to find a substitute teacher. Because guess what? The kids are going to be there.
Yeah.
The children are going to be there. And they're going to need to be taught. When one of our staff calls in sick in the morning, well, the children are still going to arrive in school and they're expecting to be fed, and their parents are expecting them to be fed because they've ordered their lunch for their child. So we have to have a call and relief staff system. So we're no different than a principal every morning at 6 a.m. when that happens. So we have a large roster of call-in staff, and we have a large roster of we'll say seasonal staff, because of course they won't work during the summer. So it's about 100, close to 100 employees spread out in 46 different locations. So some good things from that. The team is incredible. Lots of economic benefits when you think about it when we expand this type of program. We're talking about providing employment in rural areas. We just opened up 2 new schools in Botwood, so we just 5 new jobs in the small community of Botwood. That's amazing. Just in June. I'm very proud of what I do and very passionate about it, but it's not me. It comes down to the amazing team of folks who put it together. And then, as yourself, you acknowledge you were on the YMCA as chair of the board of directors. So a volunteer board of directors runs this organization. And so over the last 36 years, you can imagine the amount of people who volunteered to be on this volunteer board of directors. Yeah. And so it's those types of folks that put the energy and the passion into the program to keep this kind of thing going.
It's amazing. So the 46 schools are spread now. Is Botwood this far, or are you further west?
Botwood is as far as we are right now. Yeah. What's interesting, as you know, I'm from Stephenville. I'm not a townie. When I first took on this program, I was just like, why isn't this program outside the overpass? What's going on here? But at the time, the program was in 2 schools in Clarenville, or 1 school in Clarenville, I believe. And so then we slowly expanded from there. And I got us to Musgrave Town, then I got us to 2 in Gander, and then I just got us to 2 more in Botwood. So since I've taken over as the executive director and working with the great board of directors and the great team we have, slowly trying to make us expand as it makes economic sense to do so. To areas that need it. So so we're about, like I said, about a half dozen schools outside the overpass, but primarily St. John's and Metro. Yeah.
Tell me, as you're talking, I'm thinking about those kids that years ago couldn't go to school. And I would imagine some went to school, but were sitting there hungry, and that was bad. Tell me what it means to be able to provide this service. What does it mean to you, John?
Yeah. It's hard to put into words. You have to see it. You have to see the program in action. And in fact, I'll invite you to come see a school. When the bell rings and the children come running, and some of them are like literally about to knock themselves each over because they're just that hungry trying to get to the thing. Referring to the COVID incident, and with collecting the food, that was one thing. But when COVID started, so schools shut down, so there was a lot of children at home with no food. But when schools reopened in September, we had to have new protocol. So I was working closely with the Chief Medical Officer's Health Office to figure out protocols and the school district and what all this meant and all these things. One of the most interesting things and heart-wrenching was children weren't allowed to leave their classrooms because every classroom was its own cohort, we'll say, as opposed to everybody going to the cafeteria. So when the bell rang and the teacher said, okay, it's lunchtime now, open up your lunch bag, you could tell who didn't have lunch. You could just see the teachers knew right away what families were in those positions. And then so they were kind of adamant, like, hey, how quickly can we get our program started? How quickly? And we were trying to get through these hurdles and these hoops and get things started. But that was eye-opening to know that we were getting calls from guidance counselors, from teachers. We have principals, vice principals. We have secretaries who every single month order lunch for children that they know. When they see this family, they know, or they see this child, they know that they need this program. And so just knowing that it's heartwarming. I mean, food is a basic human right, I
was thinking about, it's one thing the child is hungry, then it's relentless, I'm sure, with the bullying and everything else. If you're there with no food, that's probably another issue that the child is dealing with, right? Mm-hmm. It's incredible to see. Like, I had no idea there's 100 people. And I'm rooting for you to get all the way over to Stephenville, and I guess then Labrador would be the next step, hey?
Well, it's interesting. So Labrador, I believe, some of the indigenous groups may take on part of the food provision up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking to expand and continue to grow. And like I said, there's some huge economic benefits to growing a program of this size. So I'll give you one example is quite staggering. So the Dairy Farmers Association of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yep.
So you picture one of these little school-sized milk, 250 milliliter milk cartons that says school milk on it. Okay. So you think that 10 years ago we were in 20 schools, now we're in 46. We're serving 1 million of those milk cartons a year. So 10 years ago we were serving 500,000 of those milk cartons a year. So you think about like the economic benefits of like, just to the farmers, to the dairy industry, and then so like our suppliers, the trucks on the road that, for delivering the food, like there's some tremendous economic benefits, but ultimately at the end of the day, the biggest benefit is to assist the children. So when you're saying you're rooting for me to continue to grow, I'm rooting to help to feed the children and, furthermore, provide opportunities in some of these rural areas in which otherwise there may be some limited employment opportunities.
People don't realize how important a social enterprise is to the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. So none of your food is donated? Do you get any donated food?
No. All of our food is sourced. We work with various vendors.
Yeah.
So right now, over the summer months, our staff are testing various products. We have to meet nutritional guidelines in the schools. Sodium content has to be a certain.
Right.
Like, there's no more deep frying French fries.
No.
This just doesn't exist. These type of things, right? So our team works very closely securing our products. We wouldn't work with donated food, but we do accept donations because we are a charity, and that is important.
Let's talk about that a little bit. What's the economic model and in terms of funding and all that?
Yeah, so essentially we operate a pay-what-you-can model, as I alluded to. 5 years ago, approximately 90% of our funding was received through our pay-what-you-can model. 5% of our funding at the time came from the provincial government, and about 5% of the funding was achieved through donations and fundraising. Here we are 5 years later, and that model has changed significantly due to various economic factors. Parents' inability to pay has increased, and so has the price of food. So if the price of food is hurting your pocket at home, and you're unable to afford to pay for your child's lunch, that's one thing, but it's also a double-edged sword for us because we're purchasing food that's also at a higher cost now. So we've seen our decrease in our parents' ability to pay. So the provincial government has stepped up with a significant increase in some of their funding, and there's now a national school food program which was just announced in September. So the province will be the beneficiary of some $3 million a year over the next 3 years. But it is significant that that's coming from the national level as a start.
Yeah.
Canada's the last G7 country in the world to have a national school food program, believe it or not.
The last
of the G7 countries in the world to have a national school food program, and funds dedicated to every province to roll out a program. So there is some significant government investment that is happening, which is encouraging, and other provinces are looking to us. Like I said, we're working with PEI, Nova Scotia, Quebec, and it's showing our model. But I guess the important piece to note there is that governments funds all types of charities and nonprofits, various types of charities and nonprofits in every province and jurisdiction. But a lot of these charities and nonprofits and social enterprises, they are only going to be sustainable if funds come in from other revenue sources. Right. And so for us, it's important that as much as individuals may believe or perceive that government is taking care of this charity, that's not always entirely the case. And even if it was, in order for it to be sustainable, we still rely on the generosity of donors and sponsors and folks who've been donating for years. Our program is so old now, 36 years old, that we have folks who went through our program who now have kids in the program, so they understand the importance of it, right?
But you got a really proven track record as well, right? Mm-hmm. This is 36 years of delivering for your community. Mm-hmm. So just so I understand, corporations can donate as well? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And individuals?
Yeah, corporations and individuals. So every month we have parents, so when you pay for your child's lunch, it will come up to the subtotal at the checkout window when it's all online. And if you owe $5 a day, 20 days for the month, if it's $80, you can add on another $20 to help another child. Or you can issue just a check. We receive checks from individuals all the time. A lot of folks in the older demographic like personally handwrite the checks, and we will personally handwrite the tax receipts.
Right.
But we have a lot of good corporate donors, like Mun Insurance comes to mind every single year. You can bank on them for $10,000 at Christmas.
Wow.
The Port Authority, St. John's Port Authority, Pipers. I'd be remiss if it's hard to name.
I know. The moment you start making the list, you're going to forget someone.
But those are some of the folks that you just every year after year, and they see the need, and that's what kind of fuels the program.
Well, and Gale Force Wins basically is a corporation-focused entity. We talk to business owners every day. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, some of them that watch this, John, are going to step up and say, you know what? This is the association that I need to donate to this year. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they've had a really good year and they're going to triple what they give, and you become the recipient of it. Mm-hmm. If you were to say, what is the why, your why when you get up in the morning, what is your why?
Wow.
That's a big one.
Well, there's the number is staggering. So there's some 16,000 children that can avail of this program every day, right? So, I mean, for me and my staff, and our team, that's why we do it. There's just thousands of children every single day that are relying on this program, and to miss one day is heart-wrenching. I mean, snow days, if it's a storm day, that's just it's heart-wrenching for us. We know that there's children that are going to school, and then this might be the only meal they receive every day. When the program prior to 2020 and probably prior to 2016-ish, I believe, before my time, a lot of this was done with cash. So parents would fill out an envelope. They would check the days on a calendar of which they want to order lunch, put $20 in an envelope, and the envelope would be passed in. And in those envelopes, I still have them. There's letters, hundreds of them from parents that say, "I'm terribly sorry I could not afford to pay this month. We'll try to make some funds, or when we can."
Yep.
Or my husband just lost his job, or I literally have copies of crayon writing from children. I just ordered I filled out for my lunch for my sister's order, and I can't afford to put any money in the envelope. Mom and Dad don't know, and these are the things that we received in writing. Now everything's done online, so we don't receive as much, but I still receive emails all the time from parents. Thank you so much for what you do, and so those are the inspiring things that keep you going. We're just talking about children. We're just talking about feeding children, and I mean
and 16,000 of them.
Well, the program's available to over 16,000. I think we had just over 12,000 registered this year, so that's about 75% of them.
Wow.
So it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, and it's so needed. And every school I visit and get a chance to talk to an administrator, the principal or vice principal, and they just remark about how incredible the program is, and without it, they don't know what they would do. And it takes us a little while to get started in September. A lot of our staff are stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads. So the beautiful part of the employment part of our program is that you have the ability to drop your child off at school, work at school for a couple of hours, and still have time to take them home at the end of the day, which is great. But in that same sense, we need the first 2 weeks of September to train them. We have to have refresher training, OH&S, and food safety training, and proper food techniques, and these types of things. So we don't get started till about 2 weeks into September. So the first 2 weeks of September, we're getting principals calling me saying, do you have any extra thing you can donate? Do you have any food you can provide?
Wow.
Because the need is just, it's
so you've really, in the 5 years, you've seen that need just rise.
Just skyrocket, completely. Like I said, the phone ringing off the hook from schools all across the province. I mean, now that the government provincially, thankfully, is going to start to put some more funds in. We'll see how that rolls out. That's kind of yet to be determined, but that will certainly go a long way, because, as I said, this providing lunch as a restaurant essentially is not economically feasible in rural communities without some type of extra financial support. But the need is there.
John, as the government steps up, you seem to be incredibly well positioned to be the lead in this. Tell me a little bit about why you think that the School Lunch Association, frankly, is the leader.
Yeah, well, currently right now we are. So there's 277 schools in the province. We operate in 46. There's a private organization that operates in just under 40, and then there's another private operation that operates about a dozen. There's a few handful, I'll say, mom and pop shops, for lack of a better term. And outside of that, there's just about 140 schools, I believe, that don't have any school lunch
Nothing
provided.
at all.
They have nothing at all. Now, of that 140 schools, mind you, some of them may have a population of less than 70 children.
Right.
So, in order for it to make economic sense, naturally, we should be the leader in that type of endeavor, right? I believe that will come to fruition. I believe we will, and again, it's much needed, and it would make proper sense for provincial government to invest money in a charity as opposed to a private enterprise. Realistically, would be my personal belief.
Yeah. It seems to me that the government stepping up has really. It's nice to hear, but it's obvious to me that you have a need much greater than just what the government is doing. You've explained that very well, right?
Yeah.
So, what next steps, what are the next steps that you think need to happen?
Well, we've done a lot of work with Food First NL, actually, so they're a provincial advocacy group with respect to food and everything food related, for that matter. And so they've prepared a report. They'll be releasing it shortly in terms of next steps. So I'll step back for now on suggesting next steps, but because there's been consultations done with thousands of parents, from everything from the NLTA to community groups, students who eat food in the program. So they're providing some recommendations. But I think the next steps, a lot of it will be derived from their report. However, the next step is let's move as fast as we can. I mean, Jerry Maguire, show me the money.
Yeah.
If from the provincial government standpoint, if we had the funds necessary, we could duplicate this model. It's a copy and paste model. It's proven, it's successful. It's been done for 36 years. We can copy and paste this program. We gave the program to PEI. They copied and pasted it. We gave the program to Nova Scotia. They copied and pasted it. We gave the program to Quebec. They copied and pasted it. So there's provinces, and I'm working with colleagues all across the country on a monthly basis to talk about these things and sharing our program and sharing our success and sharing our model. So it's feasible when it makes sense financially, and that relies again on government support, but also parents and donations. And it's feasible for us to copy and paste it if the funds are there to do so.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure talking to you. We always ask for people to give some advice. What advice would you give? First of all, I'd like to summarize, this is a gentleman that has given of himself to the community. Then he went into politics, and, first of all, I want to say thank you for your service. Anyone who's willing to put their hand up for that is an incredible community-minded person. What advice would you give based on the journey that you've had to this point in your life? What advice would you give to someone out there about, it could be life in general, it could be about the organization, maybe about life in general and the organization you're working in?
Yeah, that's a big question. I guess advice is a tough one. I'll say suggestion. How's that? I'd rather give a suggestion than some advice. I suggest getting involved. Get involved in something. Get involved in something that inspires you. Give back to community. Help out in any which way you can. I mean, a lot of us had the fortunate opportunity growing up in various endeavors, and you were involved with the YMCA, and somebody coached my basketball team when I was a child.
Yeah.
So I've been coaching basketball for the last 3 years now here in St. John's. I coached for 5 years in Stephenville.
Amazing.
I enjoy basketball.
Yep.
But if somebody didn't coach me, I probably would have been inspired to a coach. So get involved. And if that's involved in food charity, if it's involved in volunteering at a shelter, or just get involved in community. And you get to meet a lot of nice people, and it's very rewarding. Very rewarding.
So if someone wants to get a hold of the School Lunch Association, what's your website? I guess you're on Facebook and all the socials. Tell us a little bit, what's your website address?
Yeah, just schoollunch.ca.
Yep.
Schoollunch.ca. One word. So very, very, very easy to find. And our story is there. There's a little bit of a story which I've alluded to, but how we started. There's more information on our program. Everything from our ingredients to menu items to all kinds of things, and all of our sponsors are listed there, so they all get a look. And interesting from a sponsor perspective, when you think about that, you think about website traffic. So a lot of people hope that you visit their website. We know that some 10,000 plus parents are going to click on our website every month, so we have a lot of traffic. So yeah, you can get noticed. People have to visit there in order to order. But yeah, schoollunch.ca. It's a busy site.
Yeah, that's a good point. And frankly, if you're going to sponsor, you have to. It's not only the children, but there's a return that you get in terms of traffic and notoriety and all that. Well, John, it's an absolute pleasure to, for the first time in 5 years, we actually connect to get to know each other a little bit. I'm flying actually to Connecticut tomorrow, so I'll be gone for another week. Yeah. Hopefully, the rest of August is a little slower.
Nice.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thanks.
An incredible program. I'm privileged to be able to share this with our followers so that they can get to know a little bit about what's going on. This will come out. We're going to have this out the next day, and we're going to give the file to you, and you can chop it into a million ways so you can put it up on all your socials.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Pleasure, Jerry. For sure.
Thank you for tuning in to Gale Force Wins. That's Gale Force Wins, WINS.com.